FM.
Time check for you, 12 hours 1. Good day, my name is Amruja Koshal and this is your main newscast. In the headlines, government bypasses critical oversight provisions in NRF Act according to Yog Mahadio. Speaker wants evidence that an oil spill can leave Guyana bankrupt, and Peru oil disaster company fined for underreporting quantity of crude spilled and areas affected. 2 killed in quarantine highway smash-up, and Marcus Bisram walks free after CCJ rules against DPP. And Guyana's treaty obligations can be adjusted if necessary, as CARICOM nationals cannot take precedence over locals in oil sector, says Sanjeev Datadin. Stay tuned for more details.
Enjoy access to premium sports for free from March 14th to 20 on Sportsmax. Watch the final leg of Champions League round of 16. See who scores the most points to advance to the NBA playoffs. Action right at your fingertips. Plus 2 gigabytes of Sportsmax data every day to stream S-Max 1, S-Max 2, and the NBA TV channels. Not just watching, but loving the best sporting experience. Sportsmax, simply more sports.
And now for your news in detail. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Manzoor Nadir, has made it clear to Opposition Member of Parliament and Shadow Oil and Gas Minister David Patterson that his motion on full coverage insurance has been reduced as it is not based on facts. The Speaker is reported to have also told Patterson that evidence must be provided to the House to substantiate the claims he made in his motion, calling for the government of Guyana to include full unlimited liability coverage for oil spills and other disasters related to petroleum production. The motion is also seeking an independent analysis on the possible ill effects of an oil spill and for this report to be submitted to the Parliamentary Committee of Natural Resources to be used as a reference for all other future oil development submissions, among other things. And moving on, the government of Guyana has bypassed critical oversight provisions in the Natural Resource Fund Act with its move to allocate some $126 billion to this year's national budget. This is an observation made by businessman and transparency advocate Yog Mahadio, who is also a founding member of the civil society group Article 13. He told Kaieteur News during a recent interview that the absence of critical oversight committees raises concerns about transparency, control, and accountability of the government's use of the funds. Dr. Mahadio pointed to the NRF Act, which makes provisions for a board of directors, an investment committee, and a public accountability and oversight committee, none of which were in place to help steer the allocation of the $126 billion for the budget. He noted too that the supplementary budget allocation from the NRF makes it difficult for citizens to track and understand how exactly they are benefiting from the funds. His comments come just weeks after President Irfan Ali approved the selection of members of his party to sit on the board of directors for the Natural Resource Fund. And we now tell you when Guyana's Local Content Act came into being on December 31st, 2021, major private sector interests in Trinidad and Tobago were visibly worried. Fears of losing lucrative market share here translated into discussions in the upper echelons of the Trini business grouping about the ways in which the new law could be challenged for violating the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. And one key observer of this worrying development since January has been parliamentarian and attorney at law Sanjeev Datadin. In a comment posted on his Facebook profiles on Tuesday, Datadin said the introduction of the Local Content Act has indeed brought with it whispers of resistance, mainly from Trinidadian businesses. The lawyer stressed that this involvement is seen as the path to lift an entire nation from a poor developing one to a prosperous nation. More importantly, Datadin said it is useful to note that every CARICOM member state can issue a reservation or opt out of treaty obligations at its discretion. Expounding in this regard, Datadin said the CCJ, in an advisory opinion, made clear that a reservation to any treaty obligation can be unilaterally done, whilst to opt out of treaty obligation it required consent of the other member states. And in other stories, ExxonMobil's subsidiary EEPGL is currently hunting for more oil in the Kiru-Kiru-1 well, located in the Starbrook block of Guyana's exclusive economic zone. In a notice published in the Kaieteur News, Marad said that the exploration activity commenced on March 14, 2022, and some 25 vessels will be used during the operation. Kaieteur News understands that the well site is located some 115.297 nautical miles or 213 kilometers from the coast of Guyana and covers an area of 0.29 nautical miles or 1 square kilometer. All mariners are required to stay clear of these vessels and navigate with extreme caution when in the vicinity, Marad noted. Exxon's public relations officer, Janelle Passod, briefly explained that the operator is also conducting drilling activities in other wells of the block. These include Patwa, Lukanani, and Barrel I. At the beginning of this year, Exxon added 2 more discoveries to the 10 barrels of oil already found in Guyana. Both discoveries, the Fangtooth 1 and Laula 1 well, are located in the Starbrook block. And in international news, more sanctions have been initiated against Spanish oil giant Repsol, this time for the underreporting of the quantity of crude that was spilled from one of the company's refineries and for allegedly reporting false information about the areas that were affected by the spill in Peru. According to reports, the Environmental Assessment and Control Agency, it has notified the oil giant about the new administrative sanctioning procedure for the alleged submission of false information in the preliminary report of environmental emergencies as a result of the oil spill that occurred in the Ventanilla Sea on January 15, 2022. And the time has now moved on to 12 hours 8. We will return with more news for you shortly after the break.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
And we now return with more news in detail. 2 persons are now dead following an early morning smash-up along the Borlam Turn Public Road, Quarantine Berbice. Dead are Yudhisthir Puran of Crawford Street, Rose Hall Town, and Lachman Sukan of Anchorville, Port Morant, Quarantine Berbice. Kaieteur News was informed that Sukan was driving a red Nissan Bluebird car with license plate PSS 1682 and Puran was in the front passenger seat. They were reportedly racing with another car that was driven by Karan Sukan, brother of Lachman, when the accident occurred. Lachman reportedly lost control of his vehicle at approximately 3 hours and slid into the path of a paddy truck bearing license plate GZZ 4440, which was traveling in the opposite direction. Reporter Suresh Matthews, who was on the truck when the accident occurred, was still present at the scene, but he appeared to be in shock. He said that when the cars were observed coming in the opposite direction at a speed, the driver of the truck was already pulling into the corner when the car hit the front right side of the truck. He said that when the car hit, residents ran out and they all helped to remove the driver and the passenger from the mangled car. He said too that when the collision happened, the driver of the black fielder wagon turned back and approached them and said that the person driving the other vehicle was his brother. An investigation is in progress. And finally, we tell you the CCJ on Tuesday ruled against the DPP, Shalimar Ali Haq, in the case for which she had ordered that Guyanese-American businessman Marcus Bisram be committed to face a trial in the High Court for murder. Bisram was facing a murder charge for the death of Berbice carpenter Fayaz Naraindat. He was discharged twice by a magistrate for the murder, but was recharged at the directions of the DPP. The matter ended up in the Guyana Court of Appeal last year, and after a decision that he must face a complete trial for the murder, Bisram and his team of lawyers took the matter to the CCJ. At the CCJ, Bisram's attorney, Darshan Ramdani, had asked to strike down Section 72 of the Criminal Law Act, and in delivering the ruling, the president of the CCJ, Justice Adrian Saunders, upheld Ramdani's contentions and allowed the appeal. The CCJ also ordered that the decision made by the magistrate to dismiss the murder charge against Bisram be restored. It was ordered that Bisram not be committed for trial only on the evidence led before the magistrate. Justice Saunders emphasized nonetheless that nothing prevents the DPP from rearresting and charging Bisram if fresh evidence is found. And now time for your daily COVID-19 update. The Ministry of Health on Tuesday reported that there are 4 patients receiving treatment in the COVID-19 ICU. 10 new infections were recorded, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 63,157. 13 individuals are in institutional isolation, 175 in home isolation, and 15 in institutional quarantine. To date, a total of 61,740 persons have recovered from the virus. And we now turn your attention to page 7 of the Kaieteur News, dedicated to being blunt. What is the government up to? Having restricted testing for COVID-19 and approved self-test kits with citizens not required to report their results, it has virtually declared this country COVID-19 free with its recent policy decisions. This, of course, is against the warning of PAHO, which urged countries in the region not to drop their guards as it was too soon to do so. The PAHO warning could not have been more telling, as over in China, where the virus reportedly originated, a lockdown is currently imposed because of a massive surge in cases. It has been described by CNN as the worst outbreak there. People are still being infected and some are still dying too. But maybe our leaders are onto something. Time will tell. My name is Amrita Koshal and this was your main newscast, and you are listening to Kaieteur Radio.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
A friend said to me, Glenn, this EU dollars is always on top of the world. Everybody else's currencies just go up and down. But that one stays on top. One way all the time. You know why, guys? It is because the entire world is working just to upkeep those white people money strong and give them a good life. Third world countries with corrupt